Welcome to the Caerusnet podcast. I'm really excited today to have Alex Roberts with me. Alex is a franchise expert. He helps small business professionals, people that have had aspirations to want to go start their own business and experience that life. Alex is the person to help them with that. He's also a really interesting person, fantastic character and history. He was a client of mine. He was a member of mine on a Caerusnet team in Ann Arbor for many years. He's now a member of the Wednesday 10 o'clock group, which is facilitated by Doug Moffitt. He's got such a unique business. He bleeds Caerusnet. Alex, thanks so much for being on the podcast today.
Yeah, appreciate you having me, Steve.
Hey, let's go down memory lane together. Since you've been in Caerusnet, as you mentioned before we started recording today, you've been in the network for about 7 years now. It's been a crazy 7 years just to be alive, really. So you've seen a lot of change happening in 7 years. But let's go back just a little bit. I always like to retrace how you learned about Caerusnet, because Caerusnet's a pay it forward thing. You know, if you're getting value from it, I hope you'll pay it forward to other people. But somebody paid it forward to you. Who was the person that told you about Caerusnet, and how did that go down?
Well, I'm sure this is not the first time you've heard this name, but it was Jim Campbell. And Jim is just probably the ultimate Caerusnetter and networker. I was working with a franchisor at the time, and Jim came in to do a ribbon cutting ceremony, and was part of the Chamber of Commerce in Ann Arbor. And we got talking about some different things, and he invited me to come to a meeting, and I did. I came and visited, and then I ended up starting my own consulting company shortly thereafter, and saw real value in being part of that Caerusnet team to be able to get out and meet some different people that both could help me build referrals for my business, but also for me to help other folks. As we all know, paying it forward always pays you back tenfold. So, but Jim was the guy that brought me into the fold here.
Yep. It is not the first time his name has been mentioned. So, but it's been a little while. So that's another reason I'm glad to have you back on for that. Hopefully Jim will be listening to this and getting his hair standing up on his arms just a little bit. And he's still today, one of my best Caerusnetters. So I just love that. Thank you, Jim. And thanks, Alex, for sharing that. So let's talk about you in your business. First off, let's talk about, who it is you help and what it is that you do to make the world a better place.
Yeah. So, as a franchise consultant, what I do is help people get into business for themselves. So I've got a process that I take people through to really understand what their goals are, what type of business they are interested in pursuing. Before we get into that, I need to learn about them first. So how much time do you have to put into the business? Are you looking to start something full time and leave your current career? Or a lot of people I work with are in career transition, and they, found themselves at a point in place in life where, the job market just isn't the same as when it was at a different stage of their career. So, they say, hey, I'd rather work for myself at this stage of life than to go back to work for somebody else. Some people have a great career going and have decided, hey, I want to invest in something on the side, and I want to, build a bridge to go from being an employee now to being a business owner in the future. And so some franchises allow for that semi-absentee ownership, as we call it. So, there's a lot of different business models. There's a lot of different ways to go about it. And so before I start shooting off specific brand names, I've got to learn first about, what their goals and motivations are, what they want to get out of a business, what they want to put into a business, what their comfort level is with employees, what type of employees, how many employees. Do they want something that's a brick and mortar location, or are they open to, there's businesses that are just one person. There are business to business businesses, business to consumer businesses. There's mobile businesses, home-based. So there's so much. And I kind of use the analogy, Steve, of a realtor. Before somebody goes to buy a home, they don't just start driving around looking for sale signs. They usually meet with a realtor and say, well, I'm looking for 3 bedrooms and 2 baths, and I'd like an attached garage. Are the schools important? What about property taxes? Do you need to be near a highway to get to the airport quickly? There's a lot of different things. And then that realtor, and what's your budget, right? And then that realtor takes them to homes that meet their profile and fit their budget. And it really saves you a lot of time and energy and money by going through that process first, looking at only homes that qualify for your needs. So I do the same thing with businesses, spend the time first, and then I show them companies that match their profile, fit their budget, can provide the financial rewards and the lifestyle rewards they're looking for. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And that's really very cool too. So I like how you use the analogy of working with a real estate agent. So, the other thing about working with a real estate agent, we don't pay their commission when we start working with them, right? Usually the commission's paid some other way. Thank goodness when we're buying a house. When we're selling the house, it's a different story. So explain that little part too, in terms of like what you charge to work with a client and how that whole thing goes.
Yeah, great question. And just like a realtor, my services are free to my clients that are buying the business. So they don't pay me a nickel. The only thing they invest with me is their time. The way I get paid is if I refer somebody to a franchise and they end up buying that franchise, the franchisor pays me a referral fee. So it doesn't cost my clients a penny to work with me. They don't pay any more for a franchise. Franchising is governed by the Federal Trade Commission. They're provided a disclosure document that shares all the fees and expenses to buy that franchise. And it's the same whether they found it on themselves on the internet or they came to it through me, through a franchise consultant referral. So free and nationwide is the other thing, Steve. I'm not just confined here to Michigan. I work with candidates all over the U.S. and Canada. So it's a great thing with, again, Zoom and the internet and things like that, that I'm not confined to a certain area. I can work all over the place.
Yeah, that's a great thing to know, because I think more and more people, their network is kind of expanding as well too with technology, and I think things are only going to get better that way as well too. Let's talk about referrals and success in that space. Hopefully, in the 7 years you've been with us, you might have one or two referral success stories where somebody in Caerusnet gave you a referral. You talked with somebody who is maybe interested in doing this, and you were the person that helped them get into business. Do you have a success story or two that you could share there?
Yeah, plenty. But I'll talk about, probably the first one was Maria Sylvester, who was also in that group with Jim Campbell, and a life coach and just one of the most amazing people you'll come across. But she had a former client that she worked with, and he was in career transition. He had worked in the insurance business for 20 years and suddenly found himself out of a job and was looking at, what am I going to do next? And she said, hey, maybe you should talk to my friend Alex over at Franchise. He helps people buy franchises and get into business for themselves. And I worked with Matt for several months, and we looked at a lot of different opportunities. He ended up buying a Teriyaki Madness franchise, which is a fast casual Asian restaurant over in Wixom, and just has been doing great with that business. And the restaurant business is tough. I can tell you that's not one that I typically put people in, but Matt managed McDonald's restaurants all through high school and college, and had a tremendous amount of experience in the food industry, which has served him well, with that franchise. And so that was the first placement I did, and through a Caerusnet referral. Joe Taberry sent me a client of his, or a friend of his, that was also in the insurance industry. They ended up buying a boutique fitness franchise down in Birmingham, Michigan. And then the most recent one too was Todd Olson in my group sent me a gentleman he met through his church, and I referred him to a franchise called Concrete Craft, which happens to be represented by a guy named Dane Benson, who also is a Caerusnet fanatic. So Todd, Dane, and I all collaborated to help place Danny O'Connell into a concrete, decorative concrete refinishing business here in Ann Arbor.
That is so cool. It's like a referral trifecta there.
Exactly.
Very exciting. So when did you decide, Alex, as you were doing your own business and kind of formulating your marketing and how you were going to be investing your relationship energy, where did you kind of figure out that, that doing a professional business group like Caerusnet made sense for you? Like when, because I would assume that there are other people that do your line of work that maybe all they do is buy leads and hope that one out of every 100 calls they make might become a client. When did the referral situation kind of make sense for you that this was something you wanted to do?
Yeah, really from day one, Steve. When I went through the really the training and onboarding for my business, this is my own consulting company, but I'm one of 70 folks that do this under the franchise umbrella, and they have a very structured training program beforehand for us to take our franchise experience that we've gained in our previous careers to become this resource for people that don't know franchising, right? And of course, any business, it's all about customers. You need clients, and so we're trained in the beginning in terms of our marketing opportunities that, as you mentioned, the closing rate for a personal referral is 10 to 100 times better than a referral that you buy online that may or may not truly be interested in your services. So that was something that was part of our training, was get involved in your local community networking groups. I joined a country club as well, which has proven to be a great resource for me. A lot of folks that are business owners are there, people that are, you're connected to other people that are aspiring business owners or people looking to add to their business portfolio. So I do a tremendous amount of networking through the University of Michigan alumni, the Letter Winners Club. I was a hockey player at Michigan, and that's been another great resource for me for personal referrals. But the Caerusnet group is just been fantastic, where there's folks from all different industries, and but again, with my business, this isn't something where I get a lot of referrals out of Caerusnet, but the ones I do are very qualified and are quality leads for me. So it's been a really good source for me.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And I think, and additionally, it also helps you bring value to people that you're working with, because perhaps maybe there's somebody on your team that helps them with a different, stage of their business, a different focus in their business. And it's another way for you to be helpful. And I'm glad you do those other things, the country club and the other things that you're a part of, because, being in different worlds is really important. And sometimes it's really cool when you can take somebody from one world and introduce them to people in another world, and then it really kind of expands from there. So Alex, you've been in Caerusnet for 7 years. You're not a rookie. You're a veteran. And I would assume, I think you just mentioned that you had referred a couple new members to your Caerusnet team. So thank you for that. What kind of advice, let's say you're having a trust builder with a new Caerusnet member. If they said, Alex, I really want to be successful in this, it's important to me. What's like the best piece of advice you think that you could give a new member starting out to try to help them stay on track and stay focused for that initial year?
Yeah, well, you mentioned the word in there, and that's trust builder, right? I think doing those trust builders with the members is probably the most important thing, because as you've said from day one, people refer leads to people they know, like, and trust. And the only way to build that trust with people and to get that relationship going is to spend time with them outside of the regular meetings. And so, meeting for coffee, I like to go to Berry Bagels before a meeting. For us, we are still doing it in person with Doug's group. We'll meet for an hour beforehand and dig into and it's probably 20% we talk about business, but the other 80% is talking about our kids, talking about our vacations, talking about whatever else is going on in our life. But again, that's how you build those trusting relationships, is by getting together outside of the normal format. The other part is attend the meetings, right? I unfortunately, I've had some travel and different things at different stages of my thing, and I don't go to a meeting for 2 months, and then I'm like, gosh, I'm totally disconnected, and I need to get back into that. And if I'm in town, I'm there. But it's something where getting on those calls, having a solid member minute, where there's never a doubt what you do, by what you share. And I kind of open all the time with the same 2 sentences to begin, and then I try to tell a little story after that about a current client or a success story, or an ideal referral or something like that. But I think that trust builder is probably the most important thing, and then having a dialed in member minute so that people have no question about what you do.
Yeah, I love that. That's really great advice. And I think our listeners are going to find that very, very helpful. I'm actually in the process right now of putting a advice to new members reel, of taking all of my podcasts that have shared advice and putting it on one reel for new members when they join, to try to help them with success. Because as we know, you come into Caerusnet a different person than you are 12 months later. You understand things a little differently, and anything we can do to try to help shorten that learning curve and try to support other people being successful, the better it is for us as well too. Let's talk really quickly as we wrap this up about best ways to get a hold of you. This podcast will be listened to by people, and I always tell people that there is no I in team, but there is an us in Caerusnet. And the cool thing about that is, you're on Doug Moffitt's team. I used to be on one of my teams. I've got 6 different teams, and each one of these teams has their own intimate relationship together, right? I mean, it's your team. They're looking forward to seeing you at those meetings. You look forward to coming to those meetings, to seeing people as well too. But we're all part of the same big Michigan Caerusnet team. So it's very common for people to know members on different teams and be sending referrals to people on different teams. So I know your door is always open, but what's the best way for people to get in contact with you if they wanted to talk with you about your services or just have a trust builder?
Yeah, for sure. My cell phone is 734-812-4757. And I am a texter. It's probably the easiest way to get in touch with me is shoot me a text. If you call, I'll answer it if I'm available. If not, I'll get back to you another time. But that's for sure the easiest way to get a hold of me. My company website is www.franchiseplaymaker.com. And that's where people can go to learn about more specifically what I do, my business, my background, how the process works, and that. So, franchiseplaymaker.com would be a great resource for folks to start.
Okay, wonderful. So, Alex has absolutely 100% of my trust and confidence. If you'd like to refer Alex to someone who's considering becoming a small business owner, there's 2 ways to do it. You either invent your own business from scratch and really scratch your head a lot over the first few years, or perhaps you become part of a system that's already helping you execute a system. So there's a huge difference there with support that you might find in franchising. Please take advantage of Alex Roberts and his being a great resource in Caerusnet. Alex, it was awesome spending time with you today. Thanks for being on the podcast.
I appreciate it, Steve. It was great to see you again.